Let's have a look at resonance now. So resonance is a bit of a unique concept in chemistry. Okay, so let's have a look at the resonance of NO3-, the nitrate ion. So in nitrate, NO3-, if you try to draw the Lewis structure, you'll actually find that there's more than one way that you can actually arrange the bonds in the structure. So you could have a double bond either going to any of the three oxygens, okay? And each is an equally correct answer. So all of these different forms are potentially correct answers, and we actually draw these double-headed arrows in between them to show this, and we put them in brackets, show the charge outside the bracket, so it's NO3-, when we show that minus charge outside the bracket, and in between each of the three resonance structures we're putting these double-headed arrows just to show that. Now you could think about it as those electrons are buzzing around between all of those three different double bonds. The truth is, the true structure of our nitrate ion is going to be a mixture of all three, okay, but we use this resonance notation to show this. You could think about it in this way, so we've got three partial double bonds occurring between the three oxygens. Let's move along now to valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, or VSEPR theory. This is used to predict the shape of molecules, okay? It's based on the principle that electron pairs repel each other and will tend to adopt a configuration around the central atom that minimizes that repulsion. Now, depending on the number of pairs of electrons around the central atom, their geometry can be predicted. Okay, so first step is you want to determine the Lewis structure of a molecule. So now that you've practiced all of those Lewis structures, okay, so you've practiced the examples from the tutorials, you can determine the Lewis structure quite easily. Now, we need to regard the valence electrons around the central atom equally, whether they're bonding or non-bonding. And what that means is it doesn't matter whether you've got a bond between two atoms or you've got a lone pair of electrons. We consider those to be equal. Now you count the electron pairs around the central atom. Now you pretend, if you like, that double and triple bonds are just a single pair of electrons. Okay, so you count your bonds to other atoms. Doesn't matter if it's a double bond or a triple bond, you count that as just a bond of some kind to one other atom, okay? And you also count your lone pairs as well. Arrange pairs so that the repulsion is minimized, determine the positions of atoms from the way that the pairs are shared, and determine the name of the molecular structure from the position of the atom. So why is this important? So why does the three-dimensional arrangement of the atoms matter? This gives us the molecular structure. This gives us the geometry around a certain central atom. Okay, and these geometries, when put together, can greatly shape the overall molecule or greatly change the shape of the overall molecule. Okay, it dictates the geometry. So the idea is all of those bonds and lone pairs are wanting to get as far away from each other as they can possibly be. They want to get as far away as they can possibly be. So that's why it's called the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. They're repelled from each other. So they want to take up as much room as they can. And this is going to determine the overall shape of the molecule. Now, in nature, this is really important because think about, for example, the specificity where we've got here many small cytotoxic T cells of the immune system that are actually attacking a cancer cell, okay? And we know, okay, so this doesn't always work. It works. I mean, so a person throughout their lifetime might have small cancerous cells appearing, and the T cells typically might take care of this. They may not, and the cancer may grow as well. So we know that this doesn't always work perfectly, but those T cells actually find special areas on the surface of the cancer cell, special molecules that have a particular shape, and they know by the molecule shape that that is a cancer cell, okay, and they're able to attack it. And this also works with things like influenza and other viruses as well. It's based on the molecular shape that your body is able to recognize whether this is a healthy cell or an unhealthy cell or an invading pathogen. Okay, so molecular shape is really important, and this is also the way all of our different drugs work as well, all of our different medicines, okay? They work through molecular shape. So imagine that you take some party balloons, okay, and you blow them up and you tie them together at the knot. So that's what these 5 pictures are showing us here. So we've got 2 balloons tied together, 3 balloons, 4 balloons, 5 balloons, 6 balloons tied together at the knot. And you can see that they're going to try and get as far away from each other as they possibly can. Okay, this is giving us an idea of the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. So here's a linear bond, so a 180-degree angle in our linear bond. So we've got something central and we've got 2 other things attached, and they're trying to get as far away from each other as they possibly can, forming a linear structure, 180-degree bond angle. Okay, and you can see in each one of these, the central atom is shown by the red sphere. Okay, it could also be trigonal planar if we've got 3 things attached to our central atom. Now these 3 things, you know, they can be other atoms or lone pairs, and they'll still kind of fall under the banner of trigonal planar, but if one of them was a lone pair, we'd call it bent. We'll have a look at that very soon, okay? Or if there's 4 things that's tetrahedral, 5 things is trigonal bipyramidal, 6 things octahedral, okay? We don't have to memorize the bond angles. Don't have to memorize. If it helps you to know that tetrahedral is 109.5 degrees, then that's fine, but you don't have to go ahead and memorize this. You won't be tested on this, but the shapes are important. So let's have a look at a slightly different diagram now of the same thing. Okay, now linear is quite simple. We've covered linear already. Let's have a look at the trigonal planar examples. So you can see that trigonal planar can simply be called trigonal planar when you've got a central atom and 3 other atoms surrounding it. It can be V-shaped or bent if one of those is a lone pair, and this is actually how, well, very similar to how water looks. Okay, water's actually a bit more like the other example of bent over there in the tetrahedral form, where you've got the 2 lone pairs on the oxygen. So let's have a look at tetrahedral. You can see under the realm of tetrahedral, we've actually got the true tetrahedral. We've got 4 different atoms attached to that central atom, and they're trying to get as far away from each other as they possibly can. Okay, then you've got trigonal pyramidal, where one of those isn't an atom. In fact, it's just a lone pair. We call that trigonal pyramidal. And then we've got bent again. Okay, so there's 2 different types of bent at least, where you've got those lone pairs on the central atom. Now, let's have a look at trigonal bipyramidal. Okay, of course we can have our trigonal bipyramidal. We could have our seesaw configuration where one of those is a lone pair, T-shaped if 2 of those are a lone pair, and linear. Okay, it becomes linear again if 3 of those are actually lone pairs and they're causing that linear, or forcing, if you like, that linear shape to be adopted. All right. We also have octahedral. Octahedral if one of those is replaced by a lone pair. Now we've got square pyramidal and square planar. Now this, unfortunately, is just going to have to be something that you memorize. Now I don't like the fact that some things have to be memorized, but unfortunately in every course, regardless of whether it's chemistry or any other course, there's going to be some memorization taking place, and the shapes are something that you do have to know the name of. Okay, and here's some interactive programs you might like to have a look at as well. So there's a link there, and also some YouTube clips just to help with the idea of valence shell electron pair repulsion theory and how it works. Okay, let's have a look at the orbitals and how they're involved in covalent bonding. So in covalent bonding we can have a sigma bond or a pi bond. Now don't get too confused by this, it's actually quite simple. So remember our p orbitals, how they're shaped a little bit, well I suppose they're a bit shaped by like party balloons as well, aren't they? So our p orbitals have, some people say it's a dumbbell shape, they've got sort of this bulbous shape. Now if they overlap each other head on and actually try to take up the same space as each other, that is a sigma bond. And every single bond is a sigma bond. So remember that you can have you can have single bonds, double bonds, triple bonds. Every single bond is just a sigma bond and nothing else. Okay? When you've got a pi bond, these are now occurring when you've got double and triple bonds. Okay, so in a double bond, you've got 1 sigma bond and 1 pi bond. In a triple bond, you've got 1 sigma bond and 2 pi bonds. Now the pi bonds are a side-on overlap of p orbitals. Okay, sigma is head-on, pi is side-on. Sigma is head-on overlap, pi is a side-on overlap. And guess which one's a stronger bond? The sigma bond is a stronger bond because those pi bonds are quite easy to break. They're just a side-on overlap. Okay, they can be broken quite easily. They're more reactive. Okay. What have we got here? So we've got valence shell electron configurations of the different groups, table of valencies. Now, if we think about lithium, so this is going across the periodic table, so we've got lithium, okay, then beryllium, then boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. We can see we've skipped out the D block elements there, so we've skipped out those group of D block, that's sort of rectangular shaped part in the middle of the periodic table. So we've gone straight across lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, and we're having a look at how many electrons are surrounding each of those atoms in the ground state. Okay, so we've actually drawn out the Lewis dots there and comparing this to the valence. So 1, 2, 3, 4 up to carbon, okay, and this is in terms of valence electrons. Then we go 5, 6, 7, 8 for nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon in terms of valence electrons. So it's quite simple. More or less, we can just count along from left to right across the periodic table to find our number of valence electrons. Now let's take a look at hybridization. So hybridization is the mixing of atomic orbitals of a given atom to form a new set of special hybrid atomic orbitals required for bonding. So note the following. Only orbitals of similar energies can be mixed. Okay, the number of orbitals mixed together equals the number of hybrid orbitals obtained. In hybridization, the orbitals are mixed, but not the electrons. Okay, once an orbital has been used to produce a hybrid, it no longer exists, so we just use the hybrid orbital. Most hybrids are similar in shape. They differ in orientation in space, though, to the orbitals that they were made from, if you like to think of it that way. And since s orbitals have no dominant direction in space, they just add to the plumpness of the hybrids. Okay? Orbitals with pronounced direction in space determine the directional property of the hybrids. So let's have a look. So if we took 1s and 3p orbitals and hybridize those, as does happen in the case of carbon, you can then form 4 hybrid orbitals, okay, and this is called sp3 hybridization. 1s and 3p's, sp3 hybridization, and this will give a tetrahedral arrangement to our central atom. Okay, so you can think of it this way as well. So remember our orbital diagrams, we can consider now we've taken our s and our p orbitals, combine those together, and we've actually got 4 degenerate orbitals now, so 4 orbitals of equivalent energy level, and we're going to call those 4 the sp3 subshell. What else can we have? We could have now, this is an sp3 orbital again. Okay, this is another way of showing it. So imagine now we're promoting an electron up from the 2s to the 2p orbital, and they hybridize to give us some sp3s. And they're going to form a tetrahedron, or that, remember that tetrahedral shape is what we're after. You can also have now sp2 hybridization, where we've taken just an s and 2 p's. Okay, that's possible as well. sp2 hybridization is quite common. If you've got 3 things surrounding that central atom, and we count double bonds as though they are a single bond, we can have sp hybridization, and this forms a linear shape. Okay, so this is an example of bonding around hydrogen cyanide, where s and p orbital have been hybridized, forming a linear shape. Now, how do we work out the hybridization. So just by having a look at a molecule, are we able to say, yes, this is an SP or an SP2 or an SP3? How do we do this? Well, first, we take a look at the number of effective pairs. So what's an effective pair? It's a pair of localized electrons between two atoms, a pair in inverted commas, okay? So let's have a look at this. So we've got now some cases where we've got double bonds. If you've got a double bond or a triple bond or a single bond for that matter, they're all considered to be one effective pair. Okay, this is because they are localized between two atoms. A lone pair is also an effective pair. So carbon dioxide, how many effective pairs does it have? It's got 2 effective pairs. Methane, 4 effective pairs. Methanol or formaldehyde, 3 effective pairs. Okay, 2, 4, 3. We're just counting how many groups of electrons are around that central atom. It can be a single bond, a double bond, a triple bond, or a lone pair. And that is an effective pair, okay, in the effective pair method. Now, based on the number of effective pairs, we can use that to determine the hybridization. So, if you've got 2 effective pairs, SP. 3 effective pairs, SP2. 4 effective pairs, SP3. 5 effective pairs, there's no such thing as SP4, but there is a dsp3, because you've taken 1 d orbital, an s orbital, and 3 p orbitals. There's no more than 3 p orbitals, is there? So 5 becomes dsp3, 6 becomes d2sp3. Okay, this is how you determine the hybridization. Counter-effective pairs, so look at methanol here, 1, 2, 3, must be sp2. And here's a table showing us some of the hybridization and how it relates to the different geometry. Okay, so remember, just because it's sp3 doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be tetrahedral. Sometimes, if it's a lone pair that you've got in there, it might be bent, for example. And here's a further illustration of the same point. So you can see sometimes seesaw is called sawhorse, and you can use either term. Here's an example of polarity again, which we've already covered. So remember that depending on the overall pull of the other atoms on the central atom, if it's unbalanced, you can have a polar substance. And just to remind you again, if it's arranged symmetrically, then it will be nonpolar. And here's some amino acids again. You can see I've got all of them here. This is a repeat of the earlier example. You can probably see that different atoms in these amino acids are going to have different geometries, and this is going to change the overall shape of the amino acids. So your body and living systems are easily able to determine the difference between all of these different molecules and use them appropriately, okay, and produce them appropriately. Here's a fun game as well. If you've got time, you can check this out. It's a game that teaches you the bonding between different elements, okay? It's slightly relevant to this course. It might help you a little bit if you enjoy playing games. Alright, the support material. So if you'd like a little bit of extra reading, you can read through these chapters in either of the textbook. There's also some questions as well that you might like to do if you want to make sure that you're getting that extra understanding. Alright, thank you for your attention.